Hello, I'm Maiki Oreta, and welcome to Trade Talks, where we sit down with industry leaders, innovators, and change makers. We're shaping markets, challenging norms, and making an impact. Here, we explore the strategies that drive progress, the challenges that push industries and communities forward, and the ideas reshaping the way we work and live. What's new, what matters, and what's next? Let's find out together. Money is at the heart of every economic decision, whether in business, government, or at home. Yet many Filipinos still struggle to make smart money choices. The numbers paint a concerning picture. According to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, nearly half of Filipino adults have no savings. Many rely on informal lending, while only a small percentage actively invest in financial markets. At the same time, rising prices, job uncertainties, and the rapid shift to digital finance are making financial decisions even more complex. This raises a critical question. Is financial education enough to help Filipinos build wealth, or is there a deeper issue at play? Research shows that money decisions just aren't about numbers. They're influenced by habits, emotions, and social pressures. So how can individuals, families, and businesses create an environment that promotes smart financial behavior? Today, we take a closer look. Joining us to break this all down is someone who has spent years studying the intersection of behavioral economics, personal finance, and family financial dynamics. Rose Fres Fausto is an investment banker turned financial literacy advocate, best-selling author of the FQ trilogy, and a columnist known for her insights on money and family. She also sits on the board of the Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development and teaches understanding money behavior through behavioral science at the Ateneo de Manila University. Her latest book, High FQ by Design, explores how to build smart financial habits, from raising money-smart children to strengthening financial partnerships in marriage. And today we'll discuss why financial education alone isn't enough, how Filipinos can develop stronger money habits, and what it takes to build a financially resilient household and economy. Rose, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mike. It's good to see you again.
It's always good to hear from you, Rose. Okay, so Rose, we know EQ, we know IQ. Tell us about FQ and how it differs from financial literacy.
Okay, FQ is financial intelligence quotient or financial quotient. It is your ability to make sound decisions and actions. We have to underscore that in handling your personal finances. So in other words, it's not just about knowing, it's not just about knowledge, but also about your actual behavior. It's the IQ and EQ of handling money. That's what I call it.
So financial literacy is about grasping the concepts,
yes,
knowing what it is, what's available, the knowledge part.
Yes.
The FQ is putting it into action consistently and efficiently.
Yes.
How do we, well, you know, financial literacy, getting there is another enchilada, but how do we bridge the gap between financial literacy and establishing a high FQ?
Okay, so the first step there is to really understand that these are two separate things, so that we are not relying on just financial education for us to improve our money behavior, because sad to say, there is no empirical evidence that says so. And you know what? What the study, the meta-analysis really found out is that the positive effect of financial education on actual financial behavior is a very minuscule 0.1%. So meaning to say, if you stop at education, then really there's nothing's going to happen to your financial behavior. So why is that? It's because money is very emotional. So the sooner that we acknowledge that knowing is not doing, then the better for us. And that is now the bridge that we have to gap. That's the reason, Mikey, why I use behavioral economics in my approach when I teach about money.
And the need is there from the minute you're born until the moment you die.
Correct.
And even after, because there's the funeral, you need money in your life.
Yes.
I mean, you teach kids at the college level. What is their knowledge level when it comes to financial literacy? How well have they grasped the concepts? And then there's the whole FQ component.
Yeah, so actually there's also a wide range. There are those who are very clueless because they belong to a rich family, so there's really nothing to worry about. But there are also those who are very savvy already. They're now investing in stocks and even bitcoins. So it's a whole wide range. But what they get when they take my subject is that how to really understand yourself in relation to money so that you will be able to come up with lifelong habits that will give you financial freedom.
And of course, your course is an elective. That
Yes,
means
it
to
is.
sign up for that course, they have to have that interest, which is why it's not exactly the best temperature check, right? That's why you get the ones that are a little more astute, right?
They find it interesting, though. That's what they always say.
Okay, how do we make it interesting? I mean, three basic things: food, clothing, shelter. The common denominator is that you need money for all of those things. How do we set up ourselves, the next generations, to have high FQ?
So you start with the home. When your children are born, so this is why I'm going to talk based on experience, Maiki. Once our children were born, we opened a savings account for them because it's like the basic financial instrument. And that's where we put their ang paos, their gifts on their baptism, birthday. And you know what's going to happen? When they start asking about money, let's say they're now in their preschool days, you have something to show them. And it was like a very pleasant surprise for all the boys. Oh, wow, I already have this.
Yeah.
And now teaching is a lot easier if there's something tangible, right?
Absolutely, and they see it and they feel it.
Yes,
and
so
then,
you go from there and make it such that saving is really a very basic, essential habit. It's just like brushing your teeth. You know, when we teach our children that they should brush their teeth regularly, we don't have to describe to them the chemical reaction that happens with our saliva and food particles if we don't brush our teeth. So in the same manner, when you are able to teach them that saving is really a very basic habit that every individual in this world should know, then they will bring that with them into their adulthood.
And that it should be done automatically. There's the saving, and then there's the investing.
Yeah.
How do you introduce that to kids? Where do you even begin? At what age?
Okay, so the investing part, here's the thing. A lot of parents are afraid to invest their children's money. Because, come to think of it, I've encountered some who said that they have very generous ninongs and ninangs, but they just keep the money of the kids in the savings account. They say that they're afraid because it might be risky to put it in higher yielding investments. But let me tell you, when it comes to the stock market, let's say, the asset class that gives the highest yield in the long term, who has got the longest term in terms of time horizon for saving?
They have
it's
the highest,
kids.
They should have the highest appetite for risk.
That's
while
correct.
they're
That's
young.
correct. Maybe I could share with you and the audience this really fun story with my youngest son. So he was just in grade school, but he was already investing in the stock market. Very select stocks that they could understand and some funds. And then one weekend morning, he said, "Ma, I think I want to invest almost all my money in the stock market." And then I tell him, "But don't you remember that is risky, etc., etc.?" And this is how he answered, "When my stock's values go down, my lifestyle will be the same. It is when your stocks go down that my lifestyle will change." So he was able
At
to...
what age? How old was he when he said
Maybe
this?
grade 3.
Wow.
Yeah, so he
Wow.
was able to articulate that long time horizon, that bigger investment appetite that children actually have,
And he
right?
has that risk appetite because he has the cushion in you and your husband.
Yes, so that's what parents should remember. You can
So
invest.
this is what a behavioral economist teaches at home. Apart from that, very early on, you taught your kids how to create their own balance sheet.
That's
so very
right.
early on, they knew what they were worth. And at the same time, you and your husband, Marvin, who is the president of COL Investment Management, you guys revisit your own balance sheet on your anniversary.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about the dynamics of this with your sons and with Marvin.
So both Marvin and I are kind of hopeless romantic. We acknowledge that the romance is the spice of our, 35-and-a-half-year marriage. So we would always have something, like maybe we'd go out to dinner, sometimes we'd go to a resort, but always part of that activity is to revisit our balance sheet so that we know if we are still on the right track, vis-a-vis our goals, the things that we want to do in life. It may sound very unromantic, but it is actually very romantic to us.
Okay. Really quickly before we go take a break, how old were your kids when you started introducing the balance sheet system
Grade
to
school.
them? Grade school.
Grade school, yeah. So I was an investment banker, and this is a tip for mothers. Whatever you know you're good at in your profession, try to apply them. And probably that's what I did. I simplified the balance sheet. It's just a listing of what you own versus what you owe.
Assets and liabilities.
And of course, they still didn't have any debts at that time. So it was very simple, and it made them really grasp the idea that money is not just for spending, but also for investing.
Yeah, to make it work for you. Okay, we're going to be taking a quick break. Trade Talks will be right back. Welcome back to Trade Talks. We're still here with Rose Fres Fausto. She is an investment banker turned financial literacy advocate, and she's also a behavioral economist. Okay, Rose, what are the barriers to obtaining a high FQ? And it will start with the family level. Family level first, and then within the business context, and then within the Philippine economy, because, you can't just jump to the economy part. You can't change the economy if you don't start at home.
Yeah,
Okay.
So we were saying a while ago that knowledge is not the same as behavior. So now let's talk about what are the real barriers for all of us who already know that we have to save and invest from the very start, but we fail to do so. The behavior is not translated right away. So there are many, but I'd like to focus on just 3 right now. And for the audience to remember it more easily is to use the acronym of MILA, which incidentally is the nickname of my very first grandchild, Amelia.
Okay.
Anyway, so MILA, the first one is M, myopia. When I say myopia, that is our tendency to be present bias. We only see what is so nice right now at the expense of our future old self.
Like myopia, when you have a
Yes.
condition, you see what's in front of you, but not what's in the distance.
Yeah, so
Okay.
for example, when you started working, you already told yourself that you will be saving and investing regularly, comes well the day. But when the sale comes, what happens? What you
Everything
really...
just gets thrown out the door.
Yes.
Okay.
So myopia, that's myopia. And then the other one is inertia. Inertia is our default bias. No matter how much we think we are individuals who exercise their choice for the best of, for the good of our life, we are actually products of our environment, how it is already designed for us. So a lot of people may look at their ringtones and they may be using the factory ringtones, something like that.
Sometimes it's easier not to make a decision.
Yes.
And that's what stops us also when it comes to money and developing a high FQ.
Yeah, so when it comes to saving and investing, if there is no default way of saving and investing, come your swell the day, you might end up spending everything and not setting aside. Even if you've already thought about it, that you really want to save X percentage from your salary, it might be difficult because the default is not designed in your favor. And then the last one is loss aversion. We know that saving is not enough and we have to invest, but investing needs some sort of a stomach for risk taking. And we are very loss averse. That is a human wiring because evolutionarily we had to run away from all the predators, right? But right now, it's pretty safe. Our predators now are in different forms.
Yeah, but we have to be cautious.
Yes.
A lot of people, when they make their first investment, they usually buy a financial product through an agent that is a friend or a family member. Talk to us about the dangers in just jumping and going in blindly.
For any investing that you get into, you have to study it. And you have to get something by the financial product, which is what you need. And that is why we will have to go back a little bit further, which is the goal setting, because every individual has different needs from the next person. So, but now, just to go back to the loss aversion, a lot of people are afraid to lose money. Of course, that's just the right thing to behave, right? But we have to know that the loss aversion talks about our tendency to feel the impact of a loss at least twice as much as that of a gain. So what happens is that we just leave everything in the savings account, which doesn't earn anything. And that is the risk. That risk is not even a risk. It's it's certain that you will lose out to inflation. So you really need to grow your money at the very least as much as inflation, hopefully more than inflation rate.
Okay. And then, Rose, you've got, you just finished a trilogy. You've written several books, but your latest is this trilogy.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about these books? What's the area of coverage?
Yes.
And what is different from book 1, book 2 to book 3?
Okay, so I call it the FQ trilogy because there's just too many things to discuss when it comes to money. I mean, you know, you really have to go down your childhood money memory. So FQ book 1, FQ, the Nth Intelligence, talks about your relationship with money. It helps you understand why you deal with money the way you do right now. And it involves a lot of exercises, one of which is the childhood money memory. It gives you this question so that you will understand, that is why I am like this with money. And then it gives you the FQ test so that you know where you are right now in your financial journey. And then the second one has a very controversial title. It's called Why Financial Education Alone Does Not Work. Because, you know, that's our go-to solution. Oh, they're very poor. Now let's teach them about money so that they will improve their financial behavior. But as we said earlier, it's just 0.1%.
Yeah.
And why is that? It's because of the way we are wired. We are one half. So there's a part of the brain that is rational. This is our prefrontal cortex. When I give you a math problem, that's a part of your brain that you use. And then there's also the limbic system, which is our emotional brain. This is the seat of all our emotions. There's a movie, right, that talks about the emotions. That's our limbic system. Now, if I'm going to ask you, when it comes to money behavior, what do you think drives our behavior? Unfortunately,
It's different for everybody also.
no, unfortunately, it's the limbic system that drives our behavior. And now knowing that, I offered some of the common behavioral biases that affect the way we deal with money. And I introduced 2 characters so that it will not be nosebleed, so that behavioral economics discussion will be easy to understand. It's just like having coffee with your friend. And now you will be scoring yourself. How much am I affected by, let's say, loss aversion, default bias, etc., etc. And then you will come up with your me score. Now, the third one is the conclusion. So given all of this, the financial education doesn't work. So what do? This is now teaching you to use the power of design in order to have a high FQ.
This is so important because, I mean, you know, like within the OFW space, many send home every month but struggle to build their own savings.
That's so sad.
Why do you think that is? And what advice can you give them to balance remittances with wealth building?
Okay. So the reason for that is we have to take a look at our culture. We're very family-oriented. And that is not necessarily bad. In fact, it's good. We are social beings, and the family is our basic unit of society. So it's very good to be able to count on each other when we need help. However, overdoing it is what is bad. So there is this tendency.
Dependency.
Yes, dependency. So there is this tendency for family members that when they send a family member abroad, dollar earner, then everybody's going to be relying on them, will be financially dependent on them. And that's what we have to put a stop to. For me, this might not sound very Filipino, but any OFW who's going abroad should really sit down with his family members and set out the terms and conditions. I'm going away, I'm going to be sad and working, but this has to be something finite. So what are the terms and conditions?
Clear parameters.
Yes, clear parameters, what the financial dependence would be, up to what period. Am I going to still take care of your mga wants, or is it only up to needs? So I think clarity is what is lacking most
It's
of the
hard,
time.
and the expectation is that that amount will not decrease over time, but will only increase, right? It's a difficult situation. Okay, what other advice can you give for Filipinos and how to better handle money?
Yeah, so for those who are left behind, I see a lot of parents who are still in their 50s, still very capable of working. They just stop because they now feel that they're pensionada, di ba, from the remittances. So it has to be both sides. The one who's going to work abroad should also set the parameters, and then the ones who will be left behind, they should be conscientious because that person going abroad has to also fend for himself and start putting away money for his own nest egg.
All right.
And it's very difficult. It's very difficult, in fact, to...
It's very difficult, but we have a resource in the form of your books. So where can people get a copy of your books, Rose? Last question.
Yeah, so they can go to fqmom.com, click books. There are several other FQ books there. There are also some for children.
Yeah, so something for everybody. So thank you so much for your time. Rose, it was nice hearing from you about behavioral economics. And that's it for today's show. I'm Maiki Oreta. Stay up to date on the latest in business and the economy here on Trade Talks. Catch us again tomorrow, only here on BNCB Bilyonaryo News Channel.